Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is Mike, and this is the Variety. And today we are going to talk about the MCU. We're going to go down each movie in chronological order, not release order, chronological order. So today we're going to review Captain America: The First Avenger, directed by Joe Johnston, starring Chris Evans, um, Hugo Levin, Sebastian Stan, and it's directed by Joe Johnston. It came out July of 2011. So joining me on this video, I have my uncle Trey. What's up?
Mikey, everybody, what's going on? Everybody good, I hope.
Originally, it was supposed to be three: me, Trey, and his son. But his son is out of town, so he will be on probably the next time we record. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you like what you did here, if you like everything that you see, hit that like button. It'll really help us out. What you was about to say?
No, I agree. Make sure they hit that like and the subscribe buttons. And if they got a comment, be sure to leave something in the comments for us as well.
And check out our previous video and also Trey's video, Nothing's New Under the Sun, where he talked about the protests and the pandemic. Pretty much, Captain America. It's pretty much a timepiece, a period piece of a movie. The movie supposed to take place in 1941 during World War II, and the first thing that you get is pretty much them finding Captain America in ice, and then the movie goes back in time, and you see the Red Skull pretty much finding the Tesseract and the whole history behind the Tesseract during this time, which people don't know. The Tesseract is actually the Space Stone. So he found the Space Stone and eventually started making weapons with the Space Stone. And the movie picks up with a very skinny Steve Rogers.
What you were saying is correct. The movie started is taking place during the United States involvement in World War II, which was from 1941 to 1945. World War II actually was from 1939 to 1945. But after the Japanese decided to bomb Pearl Harbor, the U.S. got involved. So now we have to have a superhero, a super soldier, so to speak, who can help kick all this Nazi and Axis power butt. That's basically what we got going on. And one thing about that director, Joe Johnston, he had a few other movies up under his belt that he is known for. Just to let it be known that he's kind of a heavyweight director. He did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which is a far cry from Captain America. But he also did the original Jumanji, if I'm correct. So this guy kind of has some experience dealing with a pretty accomplished director.
Yeah, most definitely. Also, one thing about this movie, I believe it was the fifth movie in Phase One. This was the last movie before the first Avengers movie.
Yep.
And with this movie, it really sets up like they call it the first Avenger, and originally Captain America wasn't even a member of the very first team in the comic books of the Avenger. He didn't come in into the next Avengers movie, which we'll talk about when we cover the Avengers and we talk about the actual team and stuff. Because really, what this video is going to do, we're going to talk about not only the movie but also the comic book counterpart of the movie. So first, when this movie came out in 2011, how did you feel about Chris Evans playing Captain America? Eventually, we ended up liking him as Captain America, but at first, a lot of people wasn't sure of him being Captain America because he was in Fantastic Four, and Fantastic Four, everybody knows, wasn't a great movie.
Honest with you, I watched this one as far as the first Avenger. I watched that after the fact, actually, somewhat recently. Civil War was my first run-in with Captain America as far as him having his own movie, and I can't really consider it his own movie. It's almost like a unofficial Avengers movie because almost everyone from the Avengers was in it, but it still was classified as his new movie. But I really started to gain faith in him as the character for Captain America due to the Avengers. It wasn't because of this movie right here.
kind of agree with you because with this movie, it was just an okay movie to be honest. It was pretty much a parody of what they used to do back in the day. They used to show short movies to try to get people to join the war. And probably one famous movie, if you are a cinephile, you probably know this movie. It's a movie called This Is Why We Fight, which is pretty much to promote war and to try to get people into the war. Have you seen that or not really?
I have not seen that, but what you said is accurate. I mean, during this time, you had a lot of what we call propaganda. Everyone wasn't so sure about fighting. Don't forget World War One. It just happened only about 2 decades, really one generation before this war. And you can't forget. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But the Nazis were no joke. I mean, the way they were going through countries, as they called the Blitzkrieg, they were just taking over countries, and I think they took over Poland in like 1 week. So I mean, you got to really convince people to go and fight. You know what I mean? When you
Yeah.
look at such a formidable opposition, it's not just them. They had Japan with them in Italy as well, even though Italy kind of was a joke to a degree. Depending on how you look at it, they got beat by the Ethiopians who didn't even have the technology that they had. But nah, this movie definitely seemed like I can see how the original writers, I forgot their name, the names of the guys that actually created Captain America. I forgot the guy's name. I think
People
it's
that
like
created
Kirby.
Captain
Kirby
America is Joe Simon and Jack
yeah,
Kirby.
yeah, Kirby and Simon. I can see how they would be trying to push that agenda. That hey, we got a super soldier. Let's go over and kick some Nazi butt. So yeah, I haven't seen that movie. I'm gonna definitely check it out though, since you said that. But even with this coming out in 2011, it still had that feel to it that yeah, we trying to sell you on while we fight.
And for people that don't know, Captain America was created in 1941 of March, and which was Captain America Comics in volume number 1. So that's a little backstory on Captain America. So let's get into Captain America. With this movie, when we first get introduced to Steve Rogers, he was just a skinny kid from Brooklyn, and you could tell he had a lot of heart and really wanted to defend his country and fight for his country. But he was just missing the physique of a soldier's, which you see clips of him getting rejected from the army because man, I mean, look at him, he looks sick.
You're being kind. You said he had a whole lot of heart. That wasn't the only thing he had a whole lot of. He had a whole lot of head too, with a very small body. So I mean, his head was just exceptionally large. I'm surprised that Mr. Johnston or didn't talk to whoever did the computer animation, Mikey. They should have reduced the size of his head a little bit. They had the technology to. If I'm
Yeah.
right, the budget for this movie was well over $100 million. I think like 140 million or something like that. They could have done that, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, he did not have the traditional look of a soldier at that time, which was kind of funny because it's a you were being drafted into the service then. So anybody that wanted to fight, normally they would take you in some capacity. He was so puny and pathetic, they didn't even really want to take him.
So yeah, so pretty much you also get introduced to Bucky, which will soon become the Winter Soldier. One thing about Captain America, which is different what they do to any other character, also any other origin, especially for a good guy. He pretty much has his moral conscience. He didn't have an internal battle within himself. He was pretty much a
Mm-hmm.
set character. He didn't have character arc. His character arc is pretty much completed from the very first time we've seen him. He took more of a different character arc moving forward with
Oh
because
yeah.
Captain yeah, Captain America has never changed. Things changed around him, but as a character, his character never since changed. And I believe philosophy, there's a term for that. I might leave it down in the description in the video right now. I cannot think of the term, but it's actually a term for a person that doesn't change, but the world changes around him, and that's pretty much Captain America in a nutshell. And that's also how he is in the comic books. And once we get introduced to Tony Stark, you're gonna see how his beliefs contradict pretty much not clash against Tony Stark's because Tony Stark's is a futurist. Captain America is pretty much the opposite of that. And when we start talking about really the first Avenger, much in Captain America Civil War, that's when they really gonna clash between Iron Man and Tony Stark. But we actually got introduced to Tony Stark's father in this movie, which was Howard Stark. You want to talk about Howard Stark and his character in the first Avengers?
Yeah, let me go back to what you were just talking about, though.
Okay.
Uh, you kind of just made a prelude to it. Not too much as you refer to as a character arc in this one, but you will see there was some internal struggle in a later movie. You just kind of mentioned it. That was kind of the main premise of that Civil War,
Yeah.
the Civil War movie. Not Civil War, excuse me. But I don't want to give it away because we'll talk about it. But him having knowledge of a situation that happened and what do I do? I got to choose between this person or letting this individual know. And he knew what result would come from it. So, not this movie, like you said. Even in that situation, he just kind of still stayed the same. You don't really look at him as if he's trying to go back and forth, but he was presented with an issue then. Uh,
Yeah.
the situation with Howard Stark, I think was very, very. I believe this movie probably should have came out before the Iron Man movie, even though it's called Iron Man. But since I'm talking about multiple ones, the reason being it gives you a good idea of who Howard Stark was, and it gives you better insight into what type of individual Tony Stark is and why. You can see the charisma. You can see the intelligence. You can see the brass nature of Howard Stark. Highly intelligent, but just also brash with his, and then also kind of a ladies' man, smooth. You see a lot of the characteristics of Howard Starks was passed along to Tony Starks. And Iron Man at this time when this movie came out, I guess you can agree, like Iron Man was the Marvel movie situation at that time. Avengers hadn't took off, so I thought
Yeah.
it would have been better to have this come out first. It would have gave us an even better idea of Tony Stark's character before Iron Man coming out instead. But hey, they had an idea. Those writers did. But I really enjoyed learning more about Howard Starks and seeing the influence he had on the son.
Yep. And also Howard Stark is played by Dominique
Hooper.
Cooper. Yep. So now we also get introduced to a woman, which is Captain America main love entrance, Peggy Carter,
Yep.
played by Haley Atwell.
Yep.
And yeah, one thing about her, you can tell that she's a strong woman. We're pretty much a feminist at best, really. Um, you see her the first time we see her, you see her like punch a guy so hard that he hit the ground hard, and that's his love entrance. Entrance.
And you got to look at it for what it's worth. Uh, she's in the 1940s, and she is an officer in the army. That's very, very, very unusual for
Mm-hmm.
to happen. They kind of relegated women, sad to say, to some of those subordinate roles within the military. Be honest, most of the women at this time were actually making the war machines, the planes, the tanks, the jeeps, and all of those things. They were making them. They wasn't in the army, and not just being in the army. She was a officer in the army, so she had a very unique role. But she wasn't taking no junk. Rosie Riveter didn't want no problems with her. She hit my man straight in the face. She wasn't playing.
Yeah, she had a very high rank in the military. And
Yeah.
one thing about this movie, the romantic is it's not forced down your throat. It happens very subtle, and you can actually see why she would fall in love with this skinny Steve Rogers, and when he eventually became Captain America. So next, let's talk about the superhero serum. So pretty much, what's the doctor name again that gave him the serum? I forgot his name.
Erskine? Let me see.
Ers
Yeah, I believe it was Erskine.
Abraham Erskine, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
So Dr. Abraham Erskine. First of all, that whole facility that they're at is actually Shield before it became Shield. Did you know that?
I got the feeling when they showed it. Of course, he talked to him in the tent at that fair that they went to, him and Bucky, when they was trying to double date. But then once he initially went to the place, yeah, then I was convinced that, oh, okay, this may be Shield. I got that idea.
Yep. So that was pretty much Shield before Shield. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much with this Doctor Abraham Ashkin,
Erskine,
he
yeah.
Erskine, he originally worked for Nazi Germany, but then he turned and ended up turning over to the American side. And the Red Skull was actually the first super soldier that they was trying to make, but it was pretty much a malfunction. That's why his skin looks like that.
Let me point out real quick before you go on. Excellent
Okay.
idea going on right here. Even for this to be, of course, a fictitious, I'm not going to say a fictitious, but for this to be a movie based on a comic book, a lot of great historical reference here. Erskine, Abraham Erskine, I'm like 99.9% sure he's of Jewish descent.
Yeah.
And you can't forget at this time, Nazi what were they doing? They were trying to eradicate all the Jews. So some of the
Yep.
most intelligent minds in Germany left. That would be Albert Einstein, J. Oppenheimer, and they ended up coming to America, and they were instrumental in creating things that helped win the war. So, very good historical referencing in this movie, like having a doctor like him who would have been of Jewish descent come over and create and do something to help the war effort, like the super serum that ended up making Steve Rogers' head even out with his body.
Yeah. So pretty much when he came to when he picked Captain America because he thought he had a great character out of all the other soldiers, which
Mm-hmm.
shows for example him jumping on a grenade when all the other soldiers ran. Also, it shows his intelligence when the soldiers was trying to get the flag and they tried to climb it, but instead Steve he just took the hook out the pole and just knocked the pole down and got the he
Yeah.
got the flag. So not only strength and like character, heart, bravery, and also intelligence makes him a perfect soldier. Like I said earlier, that his character arc was pretty much different from any other superhero. Like it's really not a lot of flaws in his character really. So when he took the superhero serum, it pretty much perfected um him. He pretty much a perfect. They pretty much made him to be a perfect soldier. And as we know what happened next, they actually had a spy that works for not for Hydra that um that killed the doctor, so there was no way to produce any more superhero serum. So Cap in the MCU is the only superhero super serum.
Okay.
So then you get a bunch of montages. This movie has a lot of montages. You have the first montage was pretty much him in boot camp, the weak Steve Rogers. The second montage was him just performing. You call it what you call it? They were selling what?
They were selling war bonds.
War bonds. Yep.
A war bond is basically where you are going to give a certain amount of money to the U.S. government, and basically you give them $500, and they're stating that in 10 years we'll be able to give you $700 back, because we're going to pay you this money back at this interest rate. So that was real big, especially during World War One, selling war bonds, because actually for any war, but definitely in the modern era, because war costs money, human capital, and then the technology. Then you got to feed people, infrastructure. It costs a lot of money. So they were trying to sell war bonds.
Yeah, most definitely. So and then the last montage that we got was just him and his crew with Bucky pretty much taking down a bunch of Hydra bases,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and eventually they eventually saw. You remember the first confrontation they had with the Red Skull, right? Where
Uh,
he actually
yeah, yes, yes.
revealed his face, where he actually revealed his face,
If we
which
call
I thought
it,
was a great reveal.
yeah, if we call that a face, I still haven't been able to characterize that. That was just something very scary. But keep going.
Yeah,
Kind of,
and
kind of
go
reminded
ahead.
me. Kind of reminded me of when the Predator took off his mask. That was a lot to have to deal with. But keep going.
Yeah, most definitely that. Yeah, that was a great scene too.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I wish they would have talked about, because pretty much Red Skull is literally the opposite of Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Not only Nazi like Germany, Captain America is United States. Captain America has a moral compass, while on the other hand, Red Skull is pretty much arrogant, power hungry, power lust, and everything. Want to take over the world. To the
Yeah.
fact he actually betrayed Hitler.
Yeah. He represents ruthlessness.
Yeah,
And because Hydra basically was like, forget the Nazis. We're gonna take them over. They're not really moving at the level or have the same agenda that we have. So Hydra had no loyalty besides, what the uh, objective of Red Skull was. That's all they was about. And as you said, America was represented by Captain America with his vibranium shield that had the red, white, and blue with the star in the middle. So yeah, a guy with the moral compass who, hey, he would fight against oppression as he did at the beginning of the movie. And what's his signature line? I can do this all day.
let's talk about the Stan Lee cameo in this movie. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much they was trying to give Captain America a reward.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't come out. So you see Stan Lee was like, I thought he would be taller.
Yeah,
Like, yes. But that's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. Bucky did fall off a train and he was soon to be dead until obviously the Winter Soldier, which we'll cover probably. We got a couple of movies to do before Winter Soldier. We're not going to do Winter Soldier until the first Avenger. After we do the first
yeah.
Avengers movie.
Also, let's point out, and we're not going to spoil it. Good job of writing. I mean, just brilliant job of writing. How they go back and reference in later movies things that happened in these previous movies, because this movie tells you how they came in possession of something that in the actual last movie he made reference to, and we'll leave
Yeah,
it there. You know what I'm talking about. So
yeah.
they did a good job of. You could tell this was well written, laid out, and prepared. But yeah, I thought all in all it was just it's an okay movie. It wasn't horrible because Marvel has a certain standards, but it just definitely wasn't on the level, especially like the first Iron Man. Nah, this was not on the same level as that first Iron Man.
I can't wait to review that because that movie is
Oh, that was
that's a very important movie. The first Iron Man movie.
yeah, that was a change. I mean, Marvel really got put on the scene with that, and we'll talk about that, in due time.
Yep. So pretty much in a nutshell, this first Avengers, Captain America First Avenger, was an okay movie. It had pretty good writing, a
So what
good
you get?
villain. Huh?
What you gonna
Uh,
give it? So our viewers will know what you gonna give it out of a five.
Out of 5 stars, I'm gonna give this movie a 3. It was an okay movie. I thought the movie had way too many montages. I counted 3, maybe. I think it should have explained more. Like they never, like how like him training. I wish they would have showed more of him training to become Captain America, because you just see him take the superhero serum, and I'm pretty sure he didn't learn. I'm pretty sure he didn't do as well as he did. I'm pretty sure he didn't do a good job in boot camp training and stuff like that, because he could barely lift up the gun.
Well, you gotta look at it for what it's worth, because I do hear what you're saying. But what's one of the signature things when it comes to Marvel movies? They are long. Uh, Please correct me. Do you know of a Marvel movie that they made during these phases that was under 2 hours? I don't think so. Uh, and if so, it probably was about an hour and 50 minutes. So for all we know, it may have been edited out, Mikey, because this movie right here was over 2 hours. It was 2 hours and 4 minutes.
Okay.
And I mean, we know Endgame was what, 3 hours?
3 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean that's on some old Transformers. Just I mean, some of these movies, 3 hours is a long time. Some movies like Endgame can pull it off, but that's a long time. So for all we know, they may have edited it out. They may have went more detailed into it. But you said a 3 out of 5. I was leaning a tad bit more towards closer to a 4. 3.5 to a 4 doesn't bother me. Definitely not above a 4. Definitely not above a 4. It was just an introduction movie to Captain America. That's all I feel it was. Just kind of let you know where he came from, what his story was, and there were some areas that they could have did a better job of explaining or even showing some different things that would have given us a better idea of what Captain America was capable of doing. So I'll give it a 3.5 to a 4.
Okay, so that will do it for this video. The next time should be you the next time we do the next MCU movie, we're gonna review Captain Marvel because Captain Marvel happened in
Mikey's
that,
favorite.
huh?
Mikey's favorite.
Yeah, right. Y'all saw my review for that. So
Don't let Mikey
Captain,
fool y'all. Don't let Mikey fool y'all. He secretly really likes Captain Marvel. I'm telling you.
it's an okay movie, but we're gonna review Captain Marvel, which because I believe Captain Marvel take place in the 80s or the 90s, if
80s. That
uh,
was all day.
80s.
80s all
Yeah.
day. Well, late 80s because they had the blockbuster, which is 80s and 90s. So,
Yeah, we don't have those no more.
oh no, you got kids. Hey, somebody listening right now with their kid that's like 12 or 13. Like, what's blockbuster? For real. They're like, what? That was something like Netflix before Netflix. Yeah,
No, just ask them what's a VHA, what's a VCR. They'll really get confused.
yeah, for real. They have no clue.
But that'll do it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Oh, do you want to talk about what you're doing?
Yeah, for this next edition of Nothing New Under the Sun, what's actually going to be the topic is going to be the victory of the losers. And what I mean by that is people's perspective on the losers of wars and how it may differ from the popular opinion. Normally, they say history is his story, whoever wins. But as we know right now in our own country, there's an issue going on with memorabilia and statues from the losers of the Civil War and how the people who are descendants of those individuals who lost don't really want to just let go of it. This has happened before with another group of people. So we'll
Yep.
talk about that. We'll focus on what happened to Nazi Germany after World War II. So just make sure y'all check that out once we
Yeah, how they
put
erase
that.
all, how they erase from what happened in, like, I believe 1930, some
The 19,
1930s.
1933 to 1945, the Third Reich came into power in 1933. So they just took basically like 12 years out of the history books. But I'm gonna give you a difference because I'm not gonna focus so much on that. I'm just gonna talk about the perception. Just like right now, we have people who don't want to give up Confederate monuments because they feel like it's a part of history, even though we know what that represents. Uh, you'll be very shocked to find out kind of what happened in Nazi Germany after World War II as well.
Okay, that will do it. Make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, share it to a friend. Check out Nothing New Under the Sun. And I got a lot of videos. I believe I have over 100 videos on the channel already.
And
So
congratulations, Mikey.
thank you. So we got 100. We pretty much got hours of content on the channel. So go ahead and enjoy yourself. Also enjoy the movie commentary. Now you have to watch the movie along with the movie commentary because that's what a movie commentary is. I don't know why people don't realize that. people in the comment section texting me saying, why aren't you showing the movie? I'm like, it's a movie commentary. If I show the whole movie, I'm going to get copyrighted. Like,
yeah. But at least you explained it now. I do want to say one last thing before we get off. I meant, hey, everybody stay safe. You know what we're going through right now. We do know it's a pandemic is still real. I'm not here to tell you what you want to do or what you should do when it comes to wearing a mask. I know what I'm gonna do, but everybody just be safe, man. This pandemic ain't went nowhere. We're seeing a resurgence again of cases. So hey, just be safe, man. Everybody be safe.
yeah, be safe, everybody. And also, we are going to do another movie commentary. The movie commentary we're going to do is Silence of the Lambs. So stay tuned for that one.
Clarice. Clarice. That's my hey, the way he said her name, but I'm gonna leave that alone. We'll talk about that in due time. All right, Mikey, take care. Everybody, y'all be safe.
Yep. Bye.